Good morning. I got like almost 8 hours of sleep last night, and I feel like I could use 5 more. I'm doing good. I'm awake. I'm getting ready for work, but I feel a little zombie-like. And I got even more sleep, which was needed, but I think it was just not like I didn't get a lot of deep sleep. I didn't get a lot of REM sleep. I just think I'm trying to catch up. My body's trying to catch up because I have been pooped for the last couple of days, and so hopefully I can wake up a little bit before I have to go in, because I've got fourth graders today, and their teacher came to me yesterday and was like, hey, they're rough today. Hopefully they're good for you tomorrow. I was like, yeah, I'm sure they'll be fine. But I picked this up for like 1 or 2 pages last night before falling asleep. Oh, look. Anyways, I'm delirious. I was finding that either the last couple sections were a little slow and they were putting me to sleep, or I was really tired and just falling asleep. So I couldn't tell if it was like, was it the writing that was just feeling a little slower? The section that I was reading about that was more about religion and the fight between, like, is this heretical and this is not? Like, it was a very interesting topic, but I just couldn't keep my eyes open for a good portion of that section. This next section, we're finally getting into more of the letters from his daughter. What was his daughter's name? I don't remember. It's too early in the morning. I'll figure it out later. We're finally getting back into those letters, which is nice because it's interesting to hear her perspective and to hear the way they write. Like, she is so, what is the word? Not deprecating, self-deprecating. She is a bit self-deprecating, but there's also like the, you are just so wonderful and special. And I'm just like imagining me talking to my dad, where telling him like, I'm so sorry that I'm beneath this and do not have enough intelligence to say this and da-da-da-da. And it feels like she's pandering to him. That's what I'm talking about. She feels like she's pandering to him in everything she says. Is she that kind and reveres her father that much? Or is she really just wanting him to pay more attention to her? So she's like, I'm going to say all the kind things. And it just feels unrealistic. But then again, a lot of Galileo's letters to Cosimo and some of the other well-up people was very pandering as well. And I'm wondering if that was just something that happened at the time. Like, when you wrote letters, you wrote them in a way that was so, what is the word I'm looking for? Where you're just treating the other person like they are, it's almost poetic. I can only imagine, sire, what a magnificent letter you must have written to his holiness to congratulate him on the occasion of his reaching this exalted rank. And because I am more than a little bit curious, I yearn to see a copy of that letter, if it would please you to show it. And I thank you so much for the ones you have already sent, as well for the melons which we enjoyed most gratefully. Oh, this part's not even that. This part's not even that, like, reverential. Is it reverential? That's the word I'm looking for. Like, yeah, reverential. Is that a word? With reverence? Reverential? Is it a word? I don't know. It's early. May it please the Lord to grant you the robust health you will need to fulfill your desire to visit his holiness, so that you can be even more greatly esteemed by him. And seeing how many promises he makes you in his letters, we can entertain the hope that the Pope will readily grant you some sort of, yeah. Just the way it's written, it just seems so, I don't know, to me it seems pandering, but I guess reverential is probably the better word for it. And I'm like, is this the way they wrote back then? Because it just seems disingenuous, you know? Is that the right word too? What's disingenuous mean? It was the right word. Look at me using big words early in the morning. I don't know. It feels like you're blowing smoke up somebody's ass. And that's definitely how it feels when Galileo writes letters to these different cardinals and people who are pretty high up within the church. And I'm like, is this the way you got favor back then? Was just by bullshitting everybody? I mean, maybe he's not bullshitting them, but just the way he writes to him, like, it's kind of like sickening sweet. You know, you're like, oh gosh, just have a real voice. It doesn't feel like you have a real voice. And that's kind of how I feel about his daughter's voice in these letters. I'm like, it doesn't sound like you're talking to your father. It sounds like you're talking to your priest. I'm just curious if this is how people wrote back then. Like, this is just in general, when people were writing letters to each other, was this the kind of tone that they took in the letters? It just feels very impersonal. It feels a lot more formal grandiose. I don't know, it's strange. And I'm thinking, like, if Galileo and his daughter sent hundreds of letters back and forth, this is how all their letters sound. I'm finding this very interesting. Okay, well, I gotta finish getting ready and get out of here. Go see how the fourth graders are gonna be today. Let's hope they're gonna be good, because that would be nice. We're getting close to the end of the school year. All right, so today was a day. I'm glad it's over. I didn't take any B-roll today because I was basically just trying to survive. The fourth graders were feral, and this group, they're not, as a class, I've heard many things about this class. Like, this class is rumored to be this very difficult class, and yet I've had pretty good luck subbing them. And today was the day that things would change. From the very beginning, the whole class was just being really disrespectful because they were blurting and just chatting, so many side conversations, and it just wouldn't stop. Like, I'd get them to stop, and then maybe one or two kids, because I did have a few big behaviors that had to be dealt with by administration, like maybe one or two kids would start making noises or doing silly things or being loud or fighting with each other, and then it would get everybody else going. So it was just constantly trying to get them to calm down. And usually I can manage that, but I think, like, I'm tired. It's becoming the end of the school year. I was maybe a little more lenient with this group than I should have been going into it, but my expectations with this group, because I've subbed for them 4 or 5 times before, was that they can handle it. They can handle the system that I have set in place. They know my expectations, and I know it's the end of the school year, and they couldn't handle it. So we had to get some pretty heavy consequences in place. They couldn't reset during lunch, and they came back and they were the class that I have subbed for before. They were all of a sudden much better as far as behavior. And it was just frustrating. And one of the kids was even like, "I'm sorry, I'm a bad kid." And I was like, "You're not a bad kid. You just make some choices sometimes that are not okay. That's it." And I just felt frustrated, and I need to be easier on myself, because one, it's okay to accept help. If you need help from administration, don't feel bad asking for it. That's hard for me, especially with the upper grades. Sometimes with the younger grades, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, no, I'll call admin, because it's harder to manage some of those behaviors in the younger grades. But I always feel a little when I have to ask administration to come help with the older kids, because I can usually manage older kids. So it's okay to ask for help and accept it, and not feel like it makes me a bad teacher or it makes me someone who can't handle situations. You know, sometimes we just need support, and I need to be okay with that. Like, I am okay with it, but I also need to, like, mentally accept it. And also, this doesn't mean I'm a bad teacher, that my management skills are terrible, because I'm the first person to say, I screwed up today. I did something wrong. I didn't manage well. I da-da-da-da-da. Like, I constantly am like, nope, you're doing a terrible job, Amy. You're not a good classroom manager. I was just like, you know, scrolling through my brain. And I think at one point I was just feeling really down on myself. The kids had already gone off to lunch and stuff. And the assistant principal came up to me and she's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I just started crying. And I don't cry very often, especially nowadays that I've gotten older. And I have cried for one other class, I think. Never in front of the kids, but like outside of the classroom. And today when she just asked that, I was like, I guess I'm not. I just started crying, because it just, you feel kind of helpless and frustrated. I was really irritated and frustrated, and I didn't want to show that to the kids, but I did at one point say, you know, you're all being really unkind. And luckily when they came back from lunch, given that we had set some heavier consequences, the assistant principal and I, they did great. They were the class that I've subbed for before, and they were much kinder. They were trying really hard, and it was a much better afternoon. And then they ended up getting some of the originally established rewards because they were able to gain them back. So the day ended well. It was just long, and I was just so tired. Like right after number corner, which is like early in the morning, I just was like, oh, my energy is drained, because I used it up on trying to manage you all. And there's my rant for the day. Hopefully it's just the one, and I don't have anything else that's gonna happen today. I've got to edit my video for vlog day 4. I think day 4. And then I need to read my hour of Galileo's daughter. What else do I have to do? I don't know. I'm just tired. I'm tired, and I'm ready for Friday. I'm ready for Friday, because that's when I get to go with my 5th grade class to the track meet. and I'm just ready to have a good time with them. I'm sure they're going to be feral too, but at least it's a feral I know. You know, like those are my kids. I had taken a break from audiobooks for like a week or so because I just needed to do something different. I was listening to Trevor Noah's new podcast. I listened to 2 episodes of that. And then I was just listening to music because I just needed a break. But I am getting back into my audiobooks. So today I got back into Changeless by Gail Carriger, and this is the second book in the Parasol Protectorate series, and this is all about this preternatural person named Alexia, and she is someone who is soulless, so she can touch vampires and werewolves, and well, she can actually exorcise ghosts. When she touches them, they lose all their power. So say she touches a werewolf who's in wolf form, all of a sudden they turn back to human form and they have no power as a werewolf. Same thing can happen from vampires. It's not lasting. The second she takes her hands off of them, they turn back into their werewolf or vampire form. But this is her ability as being someone who is soulless. Well, she is also a bit of a sleuth in some ways, and she has a bit of a role politically for representing the supernatural world in different ways. And so in this book, the situation is that there is this incident where everybody who is supernatural loses their abilities completely for like a certain number of hours within a certain radius of the city. So like if you're in London, if you're within these bounds, everybody has lost their powers, but then it comes back again all of a sudden. So as her job, she is necessary to figuring out what's going on. And the queen wants to know what's going on. And she's going to have to do some legwork and figure that out. And then, of course, there's Lord Macon, who is this werewolf, the head of the BUR, which is the Bureau of Unnatural... I can't remember. I can never remember. Bureau of Unnatural Registry. There's a bit of a romance between Lord Macon and Alexia, but I don't want to go into details about that part of it because that is a big focus of the first book. So I don't want to give anything away. No spoilers. But he's also having to figure out what's going on within the situation on his end because all the people within the supernatural community obviously are like, hey, we're threatened here. We're scared. What's going on? Why is this happening? So this big incident, which is that people are losing their powers and they're not being touched by someone who's preternatural like Alexia. What exactly is causing them to lose their abilities? And why was it for a certain length of time, but then all of a sudden it was back? And is it going to happen again? They're trying to figure out what could possibly be doing this. And that's kind of where we're at. And it's just so fun. It's so quirky and the humor is great. And I love the characters and I love the situation between Lord Macon and Alexia. It's just so much fun to listen to, and I'm glad I'm getting back into it. Now that I took my little break, I am getting bit by mosquitoes left and right. The audiobook narrator did such a great job, and I had so much fun with the first one that I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm ready. Let's find out what's going to happen next. I will probably end up listening to this whole series as an audiobook. Okay, well, I came to my bedroom thinking I was going to finish my 36 minutes because I had read part of it, and then I was like, oh, I'll just go get in bed and read my 36 minutes. And instead, I scrolled through videos because I think I'm just exhausted emotionally, mentally, all the exhausteds. And so I'm going to add an hour to this and hopefully read that hour and 36 minutes tomorrow. I luckily only have half day of work tomorrow, first grade. Let's hope that the morning goes smoothly. And right after that, I'm going to go grocery shopping and then come home, edit this vlog, read my hour and 36 minutes. So that's it for today. I hope you're having a wonderful month so far. Mine has been really good up until today. Today was just the first day where I was like, ooh, it's almost summer, but it's not quite summer yet. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens for day 6.